What's up, everybody? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and I'm going to be doing a Charisma video breakdown for you today. The first thing that you'll see is that this Charisma video is not going to be like the others. This is the first one and an experimental thing that I'm trying, which is breaking down anti-charismatic videos. So if you recognize the screenshot, you'll know this is the Boom Goes the Dynamite kid, famous back in 2005 or something like that. His basic story, which you'll see, is he's doing a sportscast for his college and is completely uncomfortable. So I'm going to break down the things that he's doing wrong in the hopes that you do not do the same things and learn from them.
Hello, everyone. Well, the Ball State softball team continued to play this weekend, and they were hoping to continue off of their straight 3 out of 4 losses. And so we'll take a look and see how that happened. They started off good, but then eventually the Ball State women's team shut down and ended up doing...
So that's a quick example of this kid tripping over his words. Again, this stuff happens all the time. I'm sure I'll do it on this video. But the most important thing is that you can sort of plow through one of those like he does there. But when they get to be several like start and stops, when you plow through, you actually make the audience uncomfortable. So the best thing to do there is to pause, go, wait a second, blah, 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 the Ball State women's basketball team. And just by getting on the same page as your audience, by recognizing the fact that you make a mistake, you allow them to laugh, it lets the tension out, and they don't have to feel like they're watching this train wreck from afar and are separated from you. Instead, you're transparent, you made a mistake, and you're on the same team. So, small trip on your words, feel free to plow through. Big one that's like, obviously noticeable and people are getting hung up on, just call it out. It actually makes it easier to deal with.
Doing poorly. Oh, no.
So you hear that right there. I'll play it back again. The oh no is just really sad.
And ended up doing poorly. Oh no.
So this is like the biggest reason that I selected this video. This kid lacks conviction in almost every joke he attempts to make, and that is why this video went viral. That oh no is such a dead oh no, because he's nervous about trying to be funny, trying to inject a bit of personality. And what that does is it actually undercuts him. It makes it not only not funny, but incredibly uncomfortable for everyone laughing, which makes them everyone watching, which makes them laugh at him. So that oh no, ask yourself in your own life, have you been in a situation, in a party, in a bar, in a networking event, where you were maybe surrounded by people that made you nervous? People that you might have thought were superior to you in some way, whether they had more money, a more prestigious job, or were just part of a social circle that you might have liked to be part of. Do you do these things, right? Do you start a sentence and allow it to just sort of trail off like that? Do you make a joke but make it half-heartedly, right? Do you not sell it? Do you not tell all the details? You are doing the same stuff, perhaps not as severely, but you're doing the same sort of things as this kid is, and it's going to get a similar reaction, which is you're just going to make people feel uncomfortable. The best thing to do here, whether you're nervous or not, is to commit to your jokes. If you're going to open your mouth in the first place, mean it. Stick to it. Do the voices that your joke is in. Tell all the details. Commit to it fully. Otherwise, you're guaranteeing that it doesn't go over well.
And it's working. Okay. We're going to continue on now. The Ladies Cardinals will play an Iowa tournament starting this Friday.
So if you hear really quickly, that's a voice quaver. What's going on there is that he's breathing very shallow. He is breathing into his chest and his sort of pec area. That's going to make your voice quaver. It's going to make your throat tight. When the best thing you can do, and I'll show you a quick example of both, if you breathe into your abdomen more using your diaphragm, a lot of people call it breathing into your balls or breathing into your butt because that's where you'll actually feel it. So just to show you, I'll do a difference between the two voices really quick. So right now I'm going to really breathe into my diaphragm. So this is what it sounds like when I breathe in my diaphragm, and now I'll do a shallow breath. This is what it talks like when I only breathe into my chest. Obviously, when I speak normally, it's somewhere in between those two, but you want to be careful. When you start to feel your voice quaver, that is an indication that you've got shallow breath. The best thing you can do in that situation is pause, take a deep breath, step away from conversation if you need to, and really focus on slowing down all your heart rate, allowing your breath to go lower, opening up your body language. We talked about how that can have an effect on your biochemistry and will actually make you feel much better. So now I want to fast forward to the famous part of this.
And it's good.
Boom goes the dynamite coming up.
Later, he gets the rebound, passes it to the man, shoots it, and boom goes the dynamite.
So the reason that became so iconic is because, again, he lacks conviction. When you tell a joke and you're going to say something like boom goes the dynamite, which is a bit corny and a bit goofy, you can't say it deadpan. But listen to how this kid does it.
Later, he gets the rebound, passes it to the man, shoots it, and boom goes the dynamite.
The mismatch right there, as silly as it sounds, is what made this video have nearly 9 million views and made this kid a bit of a laughingstock. So commit to your jokes. If there's a voice to do it in that voice. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for issues. I want to really quickly go now to an example of this done well. And this is an example of somebody who you will see is Russell Brand in just a minute, who starts to tell a joke and doesn't immediately get the response that he wants. And this happens to us all the time. We're about to tell a story, and it's this long, intricate story. It's a minute long, and there's these different points where we know people usually laugh. And maybe in the first 10 seconds in, we don't get a great laugh. What sometimes people do when they're nervous is they pull back. They shorten the story. They start to leave out details. They commit less because they don't want to be associated with what they're about to say. If you do that, you are absolutely sabotaging not only your chance to be funny, but really your chance to be respected by the people that you're interacting with. Because you're communicating to them that you do not value what you're about to say. And it comes through when you trail off or when you tell a story that you're not really into, and you can sort of sense that. And what I just want to highlight here is how Russell Brand doesn't get the immediate laugh when he's making a couple jokes, but goes on with it anyway, and what a positive impact that can have.
A candid shot.
That was art.
All right. That's her just leaving the office. Anyway.
So right there. That was art. Doesn't go over great. Andy Richter chuckles. No one in the audience laughs. And it's not until Conan says something that the people start to laugh. Regardless, Russell has a big smile on his face. He feels very comfortable. He's obviously unfazed. The guy has made a number of jokes that hasn't gone over well in his life. He doesn't care, and it doesn't affect him.
You fell in love with this woman and you didn't want to be in love with her, so you used a hypnotist. Is this right?
Well, yes, Conan, everything you've said is true, but now I'm going to provide some mitigation. What happened was I was making a film called Bedtime Stories, yes, and Teresa Palmer, that beautiful woman we just saw turning herself into a sex C.
Yeah.
Like a letter C, but made out of sex, like Sesame Street for perverts.
So there's the big laugh. He starts with the sexy, builds on it, but if you listen, I'm going to play it again, you'll see that he doesn't immediately get the laugh from the sexy.
I was making a film called Bedtime Stories, yes, and Teresa Palmer, that beautiful woman we just saw turning herself into a sex C.
Yep. So right there, no one laughs, a sexy, and he's sort of looking at them expectantly, but then builds on it until it becomes funny.
Yeah.
Like a letter C, but made out of sex, like Sesame Street for perverts. Which, in light of recent evidence, is simply Sesame Street.
And there's a joke that people, I don't even know what that means, but Russell expects you to laugh so much that you assume there's a punchline there. And that is one of the most amazing things. When people think of comedy, they often think that people have this incredible wit, that they're very clever. But oftentimes what is going on is that they are simply communicating to you via their conviction that they are funny and you should laugh. And so you do. And so that's what I wanted to call out here, the importance of conviction in just about everything you do. I think this is a great video for that. So hopefully you saw some examples of what not to do, and via Russell an example of what to do. If you'd like, I can go back and do this entire video because it's really good. But I've already done one of Russell Brand. So let me know, or just enjoy the other videos. Take care.
This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and this is going to be a video on how to be a stronger public speaker, how to give better presentations. This one is actually an extended clip of one that I did a little bit shorter, and it's going to take a longer time. I'm going to do the entire speech this time. If you want just the quicker version, that is up. It's, called Presentation Tips and Tricks, but this is going to be a longer, detailed breakdown version and also allow you to see the entirety of the speech, which is quite good. That said, there's going to be some repetitiveness between the two because it is the same same speech. So let's go ahead and get started.
What?
So, two things to notice right off the bat. First, this guy will, throughout the entire speech, have impeccable timing, comedic, dramatic, and otherwise. And what you'll notice is that that involves leaving a lot of space. It involves being comfortable with silence on the stage, sucking people in so that they are very curious as to what you have to say next, and then dropping it on them. Secondly, and this is the important part of the entire first minute of this speech, he captures attention immediately. Now, he happens to use a prop and does something very provocative. He lights a cigarette on stage, but there are tons of ways to do this, and he's going to demonstrate just about, honestly, most of the best ways that you can do. He's going to run through all of them in the first minute. So let's go ahead and see what he does.
Oh, you all think smoking kills?
That's a provocative question, and if you hear, he gets audience interaction. So critical. You need people speaking, standing, whatever. There are speakers that will go out and they will have people do exercises if they're talking for a long time. People will ask questions. Who's seen one of my speeches before? Something like that. You need to get verbal responses from the audience in the first minute, because if you don't, they will stay dead silent, giving you very no feedback for the entirety of the thing. If you do get feedback, whether it's in an auditorium or in maybe just a little room of a couple people that you work with, they will give you much more verbal feedback and be much more engaged and involved with what you're saying. So get that interaction early. There's a couple ways to do it. Questions are a great one, though.
Let me tell you something. Do you know that the amount of people dying from diabetes are 3 times as many people dying from smoking? Yet if I pulled a Snicker bar, nobody will say anything.
Humor at the beginning of his speech, another great way to capture attention. This entire first minute, like I've said, is just him getting the audience interested in what he has to say.
Do you know that the leading cause of lung cancer is not actually a cigarette? It's your DNA. You could smoke for years and nothing will ever happen to you. This whole war against smoking is just to restrict the farming of tobacco. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I use these arguments, even though I just made them up.
Again, so now he's about to get into his point, but that first minute, which you should always do, dedicate to being provocative, getting people's attention, doing something that is going to get them hooked. When he's talking about cigarettes and smoking, you can bet there's a lot of people that are sitting there getting pissed off. Some people going, oh my God, I'd never heard that before. Who knew? That gets the attention, and then he can lead it wherever he needs to. You need to do the same thing.
With a group of my friends, and the results, 5 of them believed what I said. 2 of them started smoking.
One of the great things with him as well is you cannot tell when he is going to go serious and when he is going to go comedic. And that makes it very, very interesting and exciting. There's a lot of different comedic styles. You can make it a little bit more blatantly obvious. This is just one to point out. This can be a very functioning thing, to act like you're going down the serious route and then boom, all of a sudden crack a joke.
Words, when said and articulated in the right way, can change someone's mind. They can alter someone's.
So now he gets to the body of what he's saying. And you'll notice he bounces back and forth between anecdotes, he's going to tell stories, and making a point. One thing that you should notice is that when he is telling a lot of his anecdotes, he's talking in first person or he's telling a story in third person. Whenever he makes his points, though, he talks in second person. He says you. And that is so important, because when people are listening to you, the truth is we are all very self-centered, selfish people. Stories are amazing and we get sucked into them, but part of the reason is because when somebody's telling a story, we always, just about always, like relate it to ourselves. If I tell you a story about a high school experience that I had, you are likely to think of what high school was like for you. If I tell you a story about my brother, you will think of your siblings or my father, and that is what he is so good at. So stories, obviously you got to tell your own or other people's, but when you are making the points, you need to get back to the audience and say you. That makes it much, much more powerful rather than just talking about people or what I realized.
Believe. You have the power to bring someone from the slums of life and make a successful person out of them. Or destroy someone's happiness using only your words. Does that seem a bit too good to be true? A simple choice of word can make a difference between someone accepting or denying your message. You can have a very beautiful thing to say, but say it in the wrong words and
And you'll notice he is theatrical throughout this, because the truth is, when you're standing in front of people, again, I don't care whether you're on stage or in a boardroom, you are giving a performance. And if you don't think you are boring people. You need to first capture attention somehow, and a great way to do that is by embodying a role, right? Use your body, act out characters. He's going to do a lot of this as the speech progresses.
it's gone. I have a son who's 4. And he had
And again, now back to his story. He'll go story, point, all throughout the speech.
this bad habit of writing on the walls with crayons. And one evening I walked into his room and he's going at it, just writing and drawing and so on. And I said, hey. Are you stupid? Don't you ever do that again. And guess what happened? He did it again.
He's got great comedic timing. Like I said, he leaves that space. And guess what happened? Pause. He did it again, right? That people obviously knew that was coming, but the way that he set it up with the space that he created, it allowed for that moment of humor.
Nobody likes to be threatened. Nobody likes to be intimidated. His pride would not allow it. He did it again just to spite me. A week later, I walked into his room, and again, he's going at it. And this time, he was even looking at me just... I came down and said, sweetie, come here.
I want you to notice he's about to have a wonderful pause coming up here. And this, again, creating the space for people to wonder what's coming. This really engages people. Watch now.
Don't do that. You're a big boy now.
I'm going to play it again.
I came down and said, sweetie, come here. Don't do that. You're a big boy now. And he never did it again. Because his pride wants him to be the big boy. Have you ever wondered why nobody cares about global warming, even though it's a very serious issue?
You might notice here that he does not use segues. And actually, that is, as long as what you're talking about is interesting, you can get away with that. And in fact, that adds to the interestingness of what you're doing, because the implicit question is, how does this connect to what we're talking about? Where is this going? And because he starts each new thing with something that is engaging and immediately hooks your attention, he doesn't have to immediately show you the clear thread between what he's doing. He'll tie it all together later. So if you're worried that you need segues, worry instead about how you can make each distinct part of your presentation or speech hook people from the first moment. So if there's 4 different parts, rather than trying to connect them all together in real time, just make the beginning of each of those 4 parts really fascinating, and at the end explain how they're all related.
It could kill all of us. Because when you go home and you flip on the TV and you see a scientist trying to talk about global warming, it goes something like this.
Interesting to note here, he just implicitly, and so do we, understand what bad language, bad body language looks like and is. Contrast this with how he moves and how he stands upright through the rest of the speech. This is very basic, but just worth noting.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from the graphs here, the statistics of our For 2014, it shows the water level is rising. This table shows that the monodioxide level on the third ozone layer is in a very alarming position. The message never get across. But most importantly, if you are a person who's a role model.
Here we are again, and we've been away from it for a while. We are back to the second person. He's talking about you, and that hooks you.
If you're a person who's been admired, anything you say could be believed. Anything you utter could be taken as truth. My friend Nasser.
Back to a story.
He loved his father, idealized his father. He would do anything to make him happy. But his father was the kind of person who's not easy to impress. And year after year, Nasser tried, and his father was like, yeah. First year in college, Nasser got straight A's. And he thought to himself, this is it. This what will finally make my dad proud. He picked up the phone. He called his dad.
Notice how he performs this. He puts on voices. He puts the phone up. When he was talking to his kid, he got down on his knee. The more that he can put you with his body and with his voice into the scene, the more compelling it is. This is what I mean, and I'll say it often when I say show, don't tell, right? The more you can act out, put it in the present tense, the more naturally engaging what you are doing is going to be, and the more people will be hooked and the more receptive to your message they will be.
Dad, I got straight A's. Are you proud? Please tell me you're proud, Father. Yeah, listen, son, I'll have to call you back. I'm busy. I'm busy was the single sentence that broke the camel's back. And he started drinking.
Notice the change of pace here. He goes slower because you sense that something heavy is coming.
Doing drugs. Hanging out with the wrong crowd. Nasser, why? Why are you throwing your life away?
So I'm going to let this run for a little while because I want it to have the full effect, but just some things to watch out for. Notice, again, how he's going to perform it. He's going to, rather than tell you what happened, perform things live. Rather than describing what was going on, show you as best he can, right? It's almost like you're watching a one-man sketch show rather than somebody giving a speech. And that is what drives it home even more and makes it more powerful.
If the one person in the world that I care about the most doesn't care, then why should I? And one evening I got the phone call. Nasser's in the emergency room. Drug overdose. I rushed to that hospital. I saw him on that bed. And I saw that machine go beep, beep, beep. And I saw doctors try to bring him back to life. Clear! 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 It's clear that a single word could have saved this life. Words have power.
So that story and just about everything that has come up, it has been to get the audience open and receptive. One of the amazing things about telling stories is that we go inside, right? We think about how it relates to our relationships, to things that we've experienced, to things that we might experience and how we should behave differently. So once you have told a compelling story, you have people wide open to basically tell them what the moral, what should be taken, what action. And this is one thing that I would say I think he kind of drops the ball here, because this is a competition and he's not necessarily trying to create any sort of specific effect. He doesn't give people, oh, this is what you need to do. But you can imagine if he'd said, You should call your kid. You should call your mom. You should tell them that you're proud of them. Most of the people in the audience would have been moved enough to do that. So what you want to be considering at the end of your speeches or anything like that is, what specific action have you been working towards? What do you want people to do? And the more specific, the better. If it's general, just, think about this in the future. Okay, they'll think about it maybe. But if you give them call your mother, they will probably go leave the room and dial their mom up on the cell phone. So this is something that he doesn't do. It's for a competition. He's not trying to get them to do anything. But consider, most of the times when you're speaking in front of people, it's to do something, buy something, change the way that they work, to do something specific. So really get clear before you craft your speech what you want them to do, because that last moment is when you have them ready to act.
Words are power. Words could be your power. You can change a life, inspire a nation, and make this world a beautiful place. Isn't that what we all wanted? Isn't that why we are all in this hall? Your mouth can spit venom, or it can mend a broken soul. Ladies and gentlemen, let that be our goal.
So at the end, he comes back to the cigarette. This is kind of, I think, a hackneyed way to go back to this. What people like to do is they like to start with an open loop, it's called, or it can be called, at the beginning of their speech, which is a question that they raise. They'll go on a million different tangents throughout their speech, but then they will come back to it at the end. I feel like here he's like trying to introduce that tactic with not really a tremendous point. I don't know why we need to crush the cigarette at the end of this. It doesn't really do anything. But what you can do is, if you've told a story and you've told the first half of a story, then you've gone through the middle of your speech, you've gone in a million different directions. At the end, it's a great way to then come back to that first thing that you did, tie it up, and say that how everything that you've talked about has maybe contributed to the way that that ended. That is an extremely powerful storytelling technique, because what it does is it basically gets people, interested, opened up at the beginning. You've got all this stuff going on, and then when you tell them how it ended at the end, it has a very conclusive sense, right? And everything that came in between seems to make perfect sense because the story has now come full circle. So hope that you find that helpful. That's just a couple of the things that I see this guy doing in this speech. Of course, not everything that you could or maybe should do in a presentation, but I'll save that for another video. Hope this has been helpful, and I will see you soon. What's up, guys? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and today I'm going to be doing more video breakdowns. Hooray! This one is of Robert Downey Jr., super charismatic guy. He's very much like a real-life Tony Stark. So I've got two short clips. I'm going to be going through them individually and stopping and starting a lot. So if you want to see them, I'll also include the links. But to get started, here he is promoting Iron Man 3 at a French press conference.
Ça a été très bien pour moi. Et toi?
So just to start out, a lot of people, this seems like a small thing, but it is actually huge. He has his hand very comfortably laid on Gwyneth Paltrow's chair. A lot of people keep their arms in a box. Wherever they sit forms a container for them. Charismatic people demonstrate control over the space you're in. And you're going to see Robert do this again, but just to start out, he's already got his hand hanging there, which seems like a small thing, but it's indicative of his mindset, which is this is his space.
First of all, I feel like an asshole.
Why?
Just because I don't.
Je me sens un peu comme un crétin.
I don't, I would have spoken French, but I was raised by wolves.
So one thing to pay attention here. Obviously, so this is a press conference. They're supposed to be talking about the movie. When you watch just about any charismatic person in action, they tend not to be constrained by the social norms of the situation they're in. First-time actors, people who are uncomfortable, are going to sit up at this press conference and talk exclusively about the movie and how thankful they are to the producers. That is not what is going on in Robert Downey Jr.'s mind right now. He's in a French place. He's impressed that Gwyneth Paltrow can speak French and pissed off that he can't. So he takes the opportunity to make a joke. Another thing to notice here, watch his
his gesticulations. He's got a range of gesticulations, which is one of the most important things that you'll see with charismatic people. Now, he is slightly contained by the fact that he's sitting, so he's not extending his arms fully, but you'll notice that he's got open palms. He's right now got his fingers together, making sort of a precise motion. The most important thing here is that he's got range, right? You're going to see a number of different things. And what that basically does is that just enables him to communicate much, much more. If you've got one note of gesticulations or one note of tonality or one note of facial expressions, you are putting yourself in a box and making yourself much less engaging. So just watch the variety of expressions that he has here.
She went to all these nice schools and they spent all this goddamn money, and now she's all fancy and comes out and you just love her. I am an animal. I'm an ugly American. All right? They don't teach French in jail.
So 2 things here. 1, self-deprecating humor. You'll hear people that say do self-deprecating humor or don't do self-deprecating humor. The truth is you can if you want. What is important is the intention behind it. If you are using self-deprecating humor because you are insecure and you want to beat people to the punch, that is going to come across and it is going to be very anti-charismatic. I've heard people talk about, I think it was Russell Brand who said that when he was growing up and he was fat, one of the things he would do is tell jokes so other people couldn't get to it first. That is a thin smokescreen. Robert Downey Jr. in this case is completely comfortable with where he is. The self-deprecating humor is not actually cutting to his core. He's not really, sad and upset and still bristling from the fact that he grew up in a poor family. He's making light of it. So in this case, it's totally worthwhile.
Alors, je crois qu'on peut applaudir ça, voilà.
Now watch. We talk about conviction or commitment often. Watch his conviction and commitment to this joke. He is going to play it out. A lot of people will go through and make one comment about how they don't teach French in jail, smile and stop and move on. Robert Downey Jr. is going to play this joke out in a number of ways. He doesn't need to say anything else, but with his What's up, guys? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and today I'm doing something very new for me, very experimental. It's going to be a screencast of a charismatic video, and I'm going to break it down. The video today is of Russell Brand. You might have seen it. I actually wrote about this one on the blog, and it's Russell Brand on MSNBC. He starts out in this incredibly hostile interview, flips one of the interviewers, does a couple of really, really impressively charismatic things throughout the course of the interview, and by the end of it, he's just completely tooled these interviewers, if you will. Not that that was his purpose, but they treated him sort of disrespectfully, and you'll see this in the video how he reacts to that. So what I wanted to do today, I'm going to do this in one take. The production value is going to be what it is, and I'm really curious for your feedback to see if this is a format that you like or if this is something that you think needs to be sexed up somehow. Basically, super standing in front of a camera, that sort of stuff, or if the screencast itself works. So I'll dive right into the video now. If you've not watched it, I recommend checking it out first because I will be stopping and starting several times to sort of talk about what's going on. And I'll have a link to that in the email that you can check out. So let's jump into it. You're going to start out seeing that the female reporter, it's the blonde woman across the table from Russell, basically comes out very passive-aggressively and says that she doesn't know who Russell is. She's like not impressed. And you can hear in the tone of her voice how she's just really not into who he is. And you'll see his reaction to her and how he flips her in basically the first 30 seconds. So check this out.
All right, joining us now, he's a really big deal.
He's a big deal.
I know. I'm told this. I'm not very pop cultured. I'm sorry. Comedian, movie star, author, and host of the show Brand X, Russell Brand. This summer, he's embarking on his first ever worldwide comedy tour, The Messiah Complex. Katty Kay and Brian Shack.
So I'm going to pause right here, and you'll see she comes out passive-aggressively. I don't even know who he is. And you can tell that he, while not overtly being rude to her, is just not going to pay attention to that sort of disrespect that she gives. So he literally turns in his chair and looks away from her. And watch how this affects her behavior towards him.
are here as well, and he already told Brian that he might want to disrobe. I'm just saying.
I just thought maybe I could loosen up a little, show a little more chest hair, and he said maybe I should do a little more.
I only think Russell can do that. You look fantastic.
Yeah. That is a very kind compliment. You also look beautiful. Brian, you are free to wear whatever you want. This is one of your freedoms that is afforded to you.
I appreciate that.
So pause here. So if you've noticed, Russell Brand is a comedian, yet for the first 25 seconds of this, while they're sort of being rude, she cracks a joke about how Brian tried to open his shirt and expose chest hair. Russell doesn't laugh because the subtext of what they're saying is insulting to him. And he can sense that. We all can sense that when people are being passive aggressive. The charismatic thing to do is to basically reward people for good behavior and to punish bad behavior. And it can be very subtle. You see that he doesn't laugh or smile while they're being rude to him. Yet, when she turns around and gives him a compliment and says, "You look very nice," he answers genuinely. He looks her back in the eye and says, "You look very nice as well," and then gets playful with the guy. And now people are laughing and they're off to a rolling start. Normally, these people would be won over, but they have a bit of an agenda, so you're going to see how that plays out.
Uh-oh. Silver boots. The boots are
I want to see them. Come on. Put them on the table.
Kinky boots time.
Wow.
There are some boots.
Those are nice. Put your feet up. Relax.
I wouldn't do that. I don't want to disrespect your program.
Okay, no.
You did ask to see
No, I did,
boots.
and I
You're
liked
a fellow English woman, so I felt obliged.
We've talked about kinky boots recently. So
yes. It's a fantastic show. You have to go. Okay, Russell. Ooh.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You just disrespected the table.
So if you notice something, Russell responds to the women because very, very quickly the woman across the table from him sort of was won over to his side. She laughed at his joke. She paid him a compliment. The guy has continued to be passive aggressive, and now he makes a comment how he disrespected the table. You're going to see that Russell does not respond to just about anything that this guy says, and I'm sure he's not thinking of it consciously. This is occurring, in the back of his mind, but he's just not going to pay any focus or attention to people who are going to be rude to him. And more than yelling at people, this is one of the most effective ways to win passive aggressive people to your side. I can tell you a quick anecdote. Was on the bus the other day. We're out for Carnival and we're wearing Power Ranger suits. So there are these huge spandex things, and one of the dudes on the bus decides that they're super gay, which whatever. They're basically spandex unitards, so I can see that, and starts chirping in the corner while we're actually talking to some girls. What we wind up doing is not yelling at the guy, not defending ourselves. We just ignore him, talk to the people around us, make them have a ton of fun. And 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, the guy has not only stopped calling us gay, but he's trying to join in the interaction in a positive way because he realized that acting out and being a dick was not going to get him the attention that he wanted. So he tried a new tactic. And the same thing is going on here with Russell. When people are dicks to him, he doesn't pay them any attention. When they come around and ask him genuine questions, he responds in a genuine manner.
It's like your desk is a puzzle.
It is. I'm sorry about that.
What is the solution?
I think we could pull it back in. So,
there you go, love. Be careful because that's a low-cut dress.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'm only flesh and blood. I've got instincts.
Oh, okay.
So now this woman is totally frazzled. And the charismatic element that's worth calling out here is that charismatic people bring up taboo subjects. Now, obviously, this is going to shift if you're a politician. You're probably not going to call out somebody's low-cut shirt. But sex is one of those taboo subjects. And you will see how easily in his jokes Russell flows in and out of serious talk about the show or politics or what he's doing and quips about sex, right? At this point, he basically made a joke about her low-cut shirt, that he's only flesh and blood and he's, attracted to her. This makes her incredibly attracted to him and shows that he is in control of the topic of the conversation. Not only is he in control, he's not going to be thrown by politics or religion or sex. He's comfortable going anywhere, and that makes him a clear leader in terms of the conversation.
Well,
tell me what you need to know.
I'm just going to have a drink here. Patty K, question.
Messiah Complex, that's the name of your tour?
Yes.
Do you have one?
No. It's a mental illness.
Right. And you don't have that either?
I hope that I'm here as a fully qualified professional gentleman.
None of us are.
Free from mental illness.
So again, he can sense a bit of passive aggressiveness on her part. Do you have that? And he doesn't jump to defend himself. He doesn't laugh at her joke. He answers it sort of straightforwardly, and then makes a quip about how, you know, he hopes that he is not somebody falls into that category, and then moves on. And you'll see how these people scramble to cover their own tracks when they've asked sort of dickhead questions of him, and maybe dickhead isn't a word, disrespectful questions of him.
Free from it.
None of you. This is a hotbed of neurosis and psychosis.
Yes.
Oh my word, I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
But Joe's not here, so there are no messiahs.
That's true. Although we actually bring more mental illness to the table than we admit, at least on this side here, for sure.
On this side.
So tell me about the tour.
So real quick, you can see who was more in control of the silence in this conversation. When that woman asks him if he has a mental illness, he starts with a no and just sits on it. And you can tell already the woman across the way, or the woman across the way from him, is not comfortable with silence in this conversation. She is struggling mightily to fill it, while he is just completely relaxed. That is another indicator and something that sort of proves the charisma in any situation, is how well you can sit with silence. And you'll see that he owns it throughout this conversation.
Starting in Abu Dhabi? Is that where it began?
Yeah, it's in a lot of Middle Eastern nations and South Africa and all across Europe, and of course in your wonderful country and in our country. I'm very, it's a really good tour. I'm talking about Malcolm X, Che Guevara, Gandhi, and Jesus Christ, and how these figures are significant culturally, and how icons are appropriated and used to designate consciousness and meaning, particularly posthumously.
And
one of the things, I don't know if you can tell, he is looking all of the anchors in their eyes, and oftentimes for more than just a few seconds. He also gesticulates at them while he's speaking to them to pull them in. So he's an incredibly engaging speaker. You can only imagine what it'd be like to be there actually with him.
Brings all those people together.
They're all people that died for a cause. They're all people whose icons are used to designate meaning, perhaps not in the manner in which they intended.
I kind of like that. That sounds dead serious.
Yeah, it's funny when you do it as a joke. I don't take it seriously. I just want to do it on stage.
Can't we get 30 seconds now?
Well, not really, love. I mean,
Gandhi,
this is
go.
not how it works. Gandhi, go.
Gandhi, go.
I hope that's not your message to Gandhi and the people of India.
And again, so they're trying to push him around a little bit. They ask him to do a bit of his act that he does not want to do. The guy gets up, says, Gandhi, go, and he doesn't answer his question seriously, as you'll see right here.
Yeah. It's because I travel a lot.
And again, this guy who has been rude to him from the start is talking, and Russell, who normally has very, very good eye contact and can certainly turn it on, is not even looking at him, because he can sense that whatever this guy's going to throw out is going to be not helpful to the conversation. So just watch how this breaks down.
All these people are at work, are they?
Yeah, they're working.
Yeah.
They're just at work.
Well, no.
Work more quietly.
They're Facebooking, actually.
What are they doing?
Facebooking.
They're Facebooking.
Yeah.
Shopping.
I bet they can't look at pornography. I bet it's blocked on their websites, huh?
Oh, I don't know.
They look pretty focused. But they're allowed to look at, if they wanted to, they can tweet, they can Facebook.
Yeah, they have to. That's part of
They're
their
probably
job.
tweeting right now.
They're tweeting themselves senseless back there.
Yeah.
Lovely. That's to create the atmosphere of we're a hotbed of news.
It's a working news. Yeah.
They're actually actors.
They're all fully qualified actors.
Yeah.
They're all just now looking for acting work. Yeah.
So people, you have a pretty broad range here. I'm going to ask a serious question. I'll try.
Try. It's never
okay,
going to
I'll try.
Go ahead.
Everyone asks, what do you like better, TV, movies, or stand-up? But which one's more difficult? I mean, going on stage, I think, is probably pretty tough. A movie can be boring because you shoot a thing 100 times. TV is what it is.
There are challenges in all of those different disciplines. The thing I enjoy most is stand-up comedy because you're...
So I want to pause right here because I know what he's going to say. This is something that is incredibly powerful, and this is going to be something that I call basically a third-person standard monologue. So what does that mean? Third person means that you're not speaking to someone directly. You're not saying you need to change in this way. So he's talking about people in general. When you're doing stand-up, these are the types of things that happen. And the standard is to say, these are the standards for the types of behaviors that are acceptable in my life, that I approve of in my life. And a monologue is just the fact that he is talking pretty much nonstop for the next, I don't know, several seconds. So when you put them all together, a third-person standard monologue is when you preemptively talk about the values and the things that you need from people in your life. So this guy has been pretty rude to him passive-aggressively throughout the interview. And then he asks him a question about, what do you prefer? Do you prefer stand-up? Do you prefer TV? Or do you prefer movies? And Russell, smartly, takes this opportunity to, in a third-person way, basically show him what his standards are for the way that people interact with him. And you're going to hear him say how when you're one-on-one with people, they cannot misinterpret what you say, which is a very, very smart, subtle, covert, and influential way, very persuasive, to basically tell this guy, listen, we are here one-on-one. Don't misinterpret me. Stop being so passive-aggressive. These are the types of things that are important to me, and I can tell what you're up to. And when you do it in the third person, you don't force this guy to dig in his heels, right? If Russell said, listen, right off the bat, you are behaving like a complete passive-aggressive jerk, this guy would get defensive. Doing it in the third person makes most people change their tune. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in this case, and you'll see what happens when people don't respond to your standards when they're in third person.
Direct with your audience. You can't be misinterpreted. People can't get confused. You know what happens if you work in media? People like to change the information so that it suits a particular agenda. If you're in a room with people, then what you're saying is clear. If you say something that people are confused about, you can explain it to them then. If you say something as a joke, people can't pretend that you're saying it seriously. So I like having direct communication with people because I believe...
I mean, you can tell that guy knows exactly what he's talking about, and it is sinking in hard. He's not going to respond to it, though, because he's a dope.
People are very, very intelligent, but the information gets manipulated a lot, and people like to cause, like, you know, fake stirs and stuff.
You know, funny, the accent, you know, when I see him in person, it's totally fine. Forgetting Sarah Marshall or the TV show, it's fine. But on satellite radio in the car, I can't understand a single joke you say.
You can't understand it.
Can you understand me?
Yes, but I'm telling you, when I'm driving in the car.
So I'm going to break this down very, very discreetly, second by second. So this guy, again, passive-aggressive. I can't understand a word you say. And he does it with a tone of voice that is accusatory and attacking. And even the woman next to him is trying to bail him out, goes, can you understand me? Russell forces him to repeat it again. He just looks at him like, are you serious? Like, you can't understand what I'm saying. Go ahead and say that one more time. So the guy does.
All right, everyone's laughing in the audience of the radio. I'm like, I have no idea what he's saying.
It's best you focus on your driving, Brian. You're a man, you don't want to be distracted by humour. You might crash into a pedestrian.
Okay. So it's a good thing.
I think it's probably for the best.
I think.
So, and what Russell does here wins the audience, right? He's not interested in necessarily turning this guy to his cause. He cracks a joke, the women laugh, and he sort of exposes that guy for being a bit of an aggressive jerk in that moment. So it just continues to get worse. These people are not picking up on it. So you'll see what happens here.
This is my first
brand experience.
Yeah. I think it's not listening to him. It's experience. It's just sort of taking it all in.
You are talking about me as if I'm not here and as if I'm an extraterrestrial. You know, I'm from a country that's near.
So you're going to see her face. She is completely thrown off. This is a great example of boundaries. So now a number of times people have behaved rudely. And Russell at this point calls it out. He says, you are talking about me in this way like I'm an alien. And this woman is just flabbergasted. She does not know how to respond. You'll see by her face. So now he's called out third person, the guy for being rude. He's called out second person. He said, you guys are acting like this. But he's not gone on. He's not really leaned into them yet. He's just calling out their behavior. Again, most people will stop at third person. When you call out somebody's behavior saying you, second person, a lot of people pick it up. Doesn't happen here, which is why this is such a useful video to watch, to see how a charismatic person deals with difficult people.
We're no dummy. We're just sort of admiring the whole, it's the whole thing, isn't it?
Thank you for your casual objectification.
It's an experience.
I'm glad that it is positive for you.
It's very positive, absolutely. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
You've become nervous. Why are you nervous?
Really? No,
you're a powerful woman. You've got a lovely job. What seems to be the trouble?
I don't know.
You've got a hair like Princess Diana.
Oh, wow.
So this is a clear example. Russell can sense the difference in the energies of the people around him, and the woman across the way actually does just want to be copacetic at this point. He has completely won her over. He has made her nervous with his presence. She's probably extremely attracted to him and doesn't know how to handle his presence there. So what he does is very smart, right? He senses that he's sort of existing on this plane above her. She feels uncomfortable around him, so he elevates her, right? He compliments her. He reminds her that she's a powerful woman. He pays her a nice compliment about her hair. That serves to normally make her feel better and probably get her much more attracted to him because he's giving her a direct compliment.
Okay.
Well, I've never
When she was alive, it wasn't being offensive.
Here's a little subtext.
Yes.
I'm petrified of her, and you have her on her heels.
She's just moved down the...
Great body language here, right? Everyone else is sort of stiff, rigid. He's completely leaned back in his chair at this point, totally relaxed with the situation.
I absolutely love this. Keep
Willie,
What seems to be the trouble, love?
No, I'm good. Well, now we're going to do a bit of therapy. Would you do therapy with Willie Brandt?
With who?
Willie Brandt. Would you do therapy with him?
I don't think.
Because that's where he's heading.
Okay. I'm all right.
Yeah. You shouldn't say he when a person is present. You should refer to the person by their name. That's basic good manners.
That is where Willie is heading.
Who is Willie?
I don't know.
So now this woman has totally botched his name. This interview is just spiraling out of control. Again, he called out basic good manners. He's getting more direct in his boundaries here, and that is the way that they should go. You don't need to yell at someone the first time they make a mistake. Again, that third person, like, hey, you know what's really cool is when you're one-on-one with someone, you behave this way. They didn't pick it up. He started to get more direct in setting boundaries, in saying that when somebody is standing next to you, you don't call them he, you call them by their name.
Okay, Russell Brand.
Is this what you all do for a living?
Yes.
Okay, but I'm here to. Okay, well, let me help you. I'm here to promote a tour called Messiah Complex. It's here for the people of America. I want the people of America to come and see me do stand-up. Go to russellbrand.tv where you can purchase tickets to see me. These people, I'm sure, are typically very, very good at their job. What is it? You're conveying news to the people of America.
Yes.
People of America, we're going to be okay. Everything's all right.
So he's sort of gone on the attack here. He does it in a funny way. But more importantly, he does what he came to do, right? He doesn't forget. He's still here to promote his tour, so he doesn't forget that. And he takes control of the conversation. When they don't even know what to say at this point, he makes sure that he gets what he wants to get across.
These are your trusted anchors.
Leaning.
Is that a news link? Here's your papers. I'll shuffle them for you.
Shuffle. Look,
give us that.
That's good. Pen. You need a pen.
Okay, coming up later. Thank you very much, Kat. Okay, we're going to be talking about the situation with Edward Snowden. This whistleblower, is it good what he's done for America, or are our secrets being jeopardized by his intentions? We're going to be talking about that. Also, Bradley Manning. Is Bradley Manning an American hero, or is he compromising the safety of American troops? We care about your views here on Morning Joe. We'll be talking about those later. Here with me are Brian and Kat. Brian, nice tie. What do you think about Edward Snowden? What do you think about the situation?
So I want to call that out right there. So he talked for, 15, 20 seconds going into this, and people didn't laugh until second 20. That is something that I'm going to cover that's basically commitment and conviction. When you're telling a joke or you're sort of going off on one of these improv rants, it's very, very common that people are not going to laugh until you get deep into it, and then your commitment makes it funny. What a lot of people who don't have that conviction do is they start to go, okay, now I'm going to do the news, shuffle the papers, and let's talk about it. Go. And nobody laughs. It's sort of like dead air, time hangs there. If you watch Russell in all of his videos, he just goes and goes and goes until he gets a laugh, and then he goes some more because he's not constantly checking with the people around him to see if they think he's funny. He's acting from his own intention here. He's playing out this bit with conviction, and that makes it charismatic and funny to the people around him.
Situation with Snowden. Have you got anything to hide? Should we be concerned about the revelations that are occurring?
I don't know what's wrong with you. I understand everything he's saying.
It's because you're looking at him. When you don't see him and you don't see their lips.
I understand the whole thing.
Stop saying he. I'm present. Russell. What's wrong with your manners?
You're good.
Be polite.
I'm coming in tomorrow with a big necklace, and I'm opening.
Look beyond the superficial. That's the problem.
Again, so now he is back to a completely direct boundary that he's setting with his people. He pointed at her. He said,
do not, stop calling me he, call me by my name. And this guy is insinuating that the reason that Russell is getting the attention that he's getting is because of his dress. And he's just going to completely tear that apart.
Of current affairs, you forget about what's important. You allow the agenda to be decided by superficial information. What am I saying? What am I talking about? Don't think about what I'm wearing. These things are redundant.
I'm distracted.
Superficial.
Okay.
Don't be distracted. What do you think that gesture means, the way you're touching that bottle? What does that indicate?
And again, he flows so easily from boundaries to jokes to serious to not serious to sex. That shows total control over the direction and the theme of the conversation, and it makes him an incredibly engaging, spontaneous person that you just want to keep your eyes on. And again, this woman is so nervous, probably very attracted to him, that she's basically she's grabbing onto her water bottle for dear life.
What is that? What's the subtext of that?
I think we gotta go to break.
You need to lose that ring, Mika, because it don't mean nothing to you. She's grasping for the shaft. She's a shaft grasper.
Russell, that was free, but it was worth the money. We'll buy tickets.
That was
Absolutely.
great. We don't need to see the tour.
I got it now. The Russell
Messiah Complex.
Thank you. The Tour Messiah Complex.
Don't be nervous.
Starts in August in Abu Dhabi, right?
And there you go. So that is the entire Russell Brand clip. There's lots more that I could do from him. Would be very, very curious. One, if you enjoyed this format, if this is something you learned from. Two, if you think that Russell is someone that you want to see more of, or if you have any specific people that you would like to have me break down, call out. I've got a couple on my list: Bill Clinton, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Downey Jr. There's a handful. So let me know what you think, and we will hopefully be doing more of these soon. What's up, everybody? Charlie from Charisma on Command here, and today I want to start with two videos of two men talking about the purpose of their lives and the mission that they're out to accomplish. So first guy you can see is Mark Zuckerberg, and what I want you to pay attention to in both videos is just one question, and that is, who do you trust? Who do you believe, and who do you feel inclined to follow? So the first video I'll go ahead and play is of Mark Zuckerberg talking about Facebook.
No doubt, we are a mission-driven company. I mean, we exist and we wake up in the morning, and the thing that gets us excited is making the world more open and connected, and the things that we're doing to build that.
So that's the first one, Mark Zuckerberg. Going to go now to the second video that is of Will Smith.
People, right? That the thing is to make sure with your art is a gift to people to help their lives be better and to be brighter. And what happens?
So there it is, really quick, about 10 seconds of each. And if you're watching, I assume that you had the same reaction that I did, which is that Will Smith is much more compelling and charismatic than Mark Zuckerberg, independent of the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has about $10 billion more than Will Smith and much more ability to actually impact the world. And the reason that people follow Will Smith is not because he's got the money, but it's because of his energy. It's because he's got a charismatic presence. And particularly what's going on in these two very short clips is that charismatic smile, right? When you're talking about things that excite you and you don't smile in the way that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't, I'll go ahead and play this clip back one more time. It completely undercuts your message, especially when you're allegedly talking about something that excites you. So here it is again.
You know, there's no doubt we are a mission-driven company. I mean, we exist and we wake up in the morning, and the thing that gets us excited is making the world more open and connected, and the things that we're doing to build that.
So Mark Zuckerberg is talking about being excited, but he's completely devoid of any excitement as he does that, which there's an incongruency there. Will Smith, on the other hand, is talking about his purpose, and he smiles. Through his speech, he smiles. So this calls out sort of a point that you may have heard, which is smiling more is going to help. Now, this actually might fly in the face of some other studies that you might have heard about that say, for instance, that women are less attracted to men who smile as opposed to men who just sort of stand there with a neutral face, or that smiling in the workplace can actually undercut you at times. And I want to address both of those rebuttals, or I want to rebut both of those very, very quickly. So the first thing, this is that first study. These are the images that people use to come to the conclusion that women like men more when they don't smile. So they literally showed 300 people these pictures, 150 women, 150 men, and said, okay, who do you find more attractive? And in this case, the woman said, this fella right here. Hopefully you can see the absurdity of basing a study on what is more attractive to a woman or a man based on a photo of one person. Even if they did multiple people, the fact is that real life is not conducted in 2D photos. It's conducted in 3 dimensions. So sure, when picking out your online profile picture, if you're a guy, don't smile. Probably helps. But in real life, to infer that that means that you need to go around brooding with this neutral face, that's actually going to hurt you. And the same thing in the workplace. While there are certainly times during high stress moments or negotiations where smiling might undercut your position, as a coach, I've worked with people who have asked for help in the workplace and in their social lives, and only on 2 occasions can I think of a client that I've had amongst dozens and dozens where they needed to smile less. In fact, with every other person that I've ever worked with, smiling more brought them more of the results they wanted, got them closer to their bosses at work, got them, more likely to make a promotion, more likely to get that raise. So the next video is going to talk about exactly how to smile. Because the answer isn't just smile more. As you might know, there's certain people that have very false feeling smiles. And if you just sort of force that grin, you're actually going to be undercutting yourself. So that's in the next video that'll be right below this one. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like, subscribe to the channel to get more videos with charisma breakdowns like this. What's up, guys? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and today I'm going to be doing more video breakdowns. Hooray! This one is of Robert Downey Jr., super charismatic guy. He's very much like a real-life Tony Stark. So I've got 2 short clips. I'm going to be going through them individually and stopping and starting a lot. So if you want to see them, I'll also include the links. But to get started, here he is promoting Iron Man 3 at a French press conference.
Ça a été très bien pour moi. Et toi?
So just to start out, a lot of people, this seems like a small thing, but it is actually huge. He has his hand very comfortably laid on Gwyneth Paltrow's chair. A lot of people keep their arms in a box. Wherever they sit forms a container for them. Charismatic people demonstrate control over the space you're in. And you're going to see Robert do this again, but just to start out, he's already got his hand hanging there, which seems like a small thing, but it's indicative of his mindset, which is this is his space.
First of all, I feel like an asshole.
Why?
Just because I don't.
Je me sens un peu comme un crétin.
I don't, I would have spoken French, but I was raised by wolves.
So one thing to pay attention here. Obviously, so this is a press conference. They're supposed to be talking about the movie. When you watch just about any charismatic person in action, they tend not to be constrained by the social norms of the situation they're in. First-time actors, people who are uncomfortable, are going to sit up at this press conference and talk exclusively about the movie and how thankful they are to the producers. That is not what is going on in Robert Downey Jr.'s mind right now. He's in a French place. He's impressed that Gwyneth Paltrow can speak French and pissed off that he can't. So he takes the opportunity to make a joke. Another thing to notice here, watch his gesticulations. He's got a range of gesticulations, which is one of the most important things that you'll see with charismatic people. Now, he is slightly contained by the fact that he's sitting, so he's not extending his arms fully, but you'll notice that he's got open palms. He's right now got his fingers together, making sort of a precise motion. The most important thing here is that he's got range, right? You're going to see a number of different things. And what that basically does is that just enables him to communicate much, much more. If you've got one note of gesticulations or one note of tonality or one note of facial expressions, you are putting yourself in a box and making yourself much less engaging. So just watch the variety of expressions that he has here.
She went to all these nice schools and they spent all this goddamn money, and now she's all fancy and comes out and you just love her. I am an animal. I'm an ugly American. All right? They don't teach French in jail.
So 2 things here. 1, self-deprecating humor. You'll hear people that say do self-deprecating humor or don't do self-deprecating humor. The truth is you can if you want. What is important is the intention behind it. If you are using self-deprecating humor because you are insecure and you want to beat people to the punch, that is going to come across and it is going to be very anti-charismatic. I've heard people talk about, I think it was Russell Brand who said that when he was growing up and he was fat, one of the things he would do is tell jokes so other people couldn't get to it first. That is a thin smoke screen. Robert Downey Jr. in this case is completely comfortable with where he is. The self-deprecating humor is not actually cutting to his core. He's not really, sad and upset and still bristling from the fact that he grew up in a poor family. He's making light of it. So in this case, it's totally worthwhile.
Alors, je crois qu'on peut applaudir ça, voilà.
Now watch. We talk about conviction or commitment often. Watch his conviction and commitment to this joke. He is going to play it out. A lot of people will go through and make one comment about how they don't teach French in jail, smile and stop and move on. Robert Downey Jr. is going to play this joke out in a number of ways. He doesn't need to say anything else, but with his body language, he just keeps it up and keeps the people around him laughing.
Il fallait qu'il le dise, voilà, par rapport au français impeccable de Gwyneth, qui bien sûr est allé dans les meilleures des écoles, et que évidemment là-bas on apprend le français, alors que lui se sent comme une.
And you can tell right here that it's not super important to him. He's obviously just joking, but still he's playing it up. He's loosened his tie. He's like breathing heavy. He's pretending this is a big thing. And this is yet another charismatic thing, which there is a sense that people are watching you. Now, granted, this is at a press conference. Obviously, people are watching him. But in a crowd, in a group, to command attention and realize that even in the silence, there are eyes on you, that you can make jokes, that you can express feelings, even when you're not actively speaking and saying, hey, look at me, very charismatic. And it's a two-way street, right? You have to be charismatic for people to pay attention to you when you're not speaking. And once they are, you can communicate with your eyes, with your body language, all these sorts of subtle things that most people just stand there a little bit wood-faced. They don't say or do anything if they're not talking.
Sorte de bête et d'américain un peu bête ici, car on n'apprend pas évidemment le français.
And the last thing here, again, more commitment and complete control over his space. This is not what you're supposed to do in a press conference. You're supposed to be very serious. You're supposed to sell the movie. You're supposed to talk about it. He's having fun, goofing off, playing around, expressing how he feels, which is like he's just laughing at the situation now. He's not concerned if it is proper or appropriate. He sets the tone, the tempo, and the rules for the situation he's in. Granted, this is very easy for him given the context. He is the star of the show. He can do whatever he wants. But the truth is, social situations in networking events and bars and all these places, any rules that you think exist are not rules. There is no hard and fast punishment that one person would face if, say, they started playing limbo in a bar or got goofy at a networking event. There might be some social repercussions, but the person who is most charismatic is going to set the new standards. They're not going to play by the rules that already exist in that context. So one quick example, the person who chats in an elevator, you might find it creepy, and it can be done creepy if it's depending on the person, but the person who does it comfortably is demonstrating charismatic elements. The person who is the first to flirt with or speak to or play around with a cashier or a waiter, the person who says, I'm going to treat you like a person, even though everyone around them is treating them just like a service object, that person is demonstrating charisma because they are setting the new social rules that go against implicit social norms for how one is supposed to interact in a situation.
En prison. Alors.
So that's the end of that clip. We'll go now to another one.
Globe-winning and two-time Oscar-nominated actor. His latest movie made more money this weekend than we owe China. Iron Man 3 is in theaters now. Please welcome Robert Downey Jr.
All right, immediately here. He's playing up the movie star role, but he's doing it very, very well. This is huge. You probably don't realize this, but most people do not ever in a social situation extend their entire arms away from their body. Most people move from the elbow down to the wrist and fingers, right? If you think about how you gesticulate, it's normally within that square. By coming out with his hands in full peace sign, completely open, he is demonstrating control over the room. And two, this is potentially even more important, that when he comes out with this body language, he is embodying a certain feeling, right? If you were to open your arms like I am right now as I sit here reviewing this, completely stretched and sit there for 2 minutes, you are going to experience a physical chemical shift in your brain chemistry. They've done studies on this. They call them power poses. And they've actually found that if you sit in one of these power poses for 2 minutes before an interview, you're going to feel more confident and do better. By simply walking into the room like this, he is priming himself to have feelings of confidence that are going to carry him in being more charismatic throughout this interview. So, really quick, I can go back and just show. Watch the way that he touches Jimmy Kimmel. He's completely comfortable. 2-hand clasp and hug. And you'll see here, he continues to play up the rock star thing. He's going to play around more and throw his sunglasses into the audience. A lot of people, I've watched a ton of these clips, the most uncomfortable first-time people being interviewed, they basically beeline it from the side of the stage when they walk in to the seat because they think that there are rules. They have to sit down, hurry up, start answering questions. The most charismatic people take their time. They set the tempo for the interaction. And this is true of your life as well. There's probably a lot of situations, whether it's at a restaurant when you walk in with a group and everybody thinks they need to shuttle their way over to the table. If you walk around, if you joke with the server lady or the person who stands there at the podium in the front and calls out names or where it's going, if you set the tempo for the interaction, you immediately demonstrate a comfort with that situation, which makes you de facto the most charismatic person there because you are determining new social norms.
When you know you really hit the...
So before we get too far, this is something I want to comment on because I've had people ask me about this. What about this cross-legged sitting? A lot of people consider this a very feminine way to sit, and it typically is. The truth is it's not good or bad implicitly. It's probably not the best way for a person to sit because of the connotations that we have for that tight cross-legged seating, and it actually closes your body up pretty tight. But more importantly than that, and what is going to overpower that, is the fact that he's completely comfortable with it. If somebody were to walk up to him and tease him for sitting cross-legged, he wouldn't immediately undo his legs and try to appear more manly. He is very, very comfortable. He would probably laugh at the person if they made that sort of comment and then make a joke about it. The key factor here, right, maybe less than perfect body language. Honestly, he would be better served to sort of control the space around him, leaning back large. But the comfort that he expresses in sitting there the way that he feels like in that moment is going to ultimately be very charismatic and, you know, hopefully cancel out what he's doing with his body, which is not perfect.
Jackpot with the movie is when you start throwing expensive pairs of sunglasses into the audience. That is something else.
Yep, it's just my way of giving back. You're welcome. You're welcome.
And again, starts off with a joke. This is a little bit different. We talked about self-deprecating jokes. These are self-aggrandizing jokes, right? And people will tell you, do these, don't do these. It's the same principle at play with the self-deprecating jokes, which is if you are telling these self-aggrandizing jokes because you actually are insecure and need to build yourself up with the people around you, that is going to be felt and it is going to ultimately backfire. But if you're doing it in a playful way, right, if your internal state is one of which this is a joke and I don't need these people to, you know, believe that I'm a rock star or whatever, which is, I suspect, where he's coming from because of how charming it tends to be, that is going to come off as charismatic. You don't want to play too hard to either side. If you're all deprecating or all self-aggrandizing, it can start to wear on people. But you'll see within just 2 short interviews, he's expressed the ability to do both, right? And that's ultimately going to, the fact that he's making people laugh and is comfortable in either extreme is very charismatic.
Congratulations on the huge success of the movie.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Did you think it would be this successful?
Well, I'm an optimistic person.
Okay.
So I tend to think anything I do is going to be amazingly and. But that's probably just compensatory because, you know, life is difficult and this industry is unpredictable. You know.
Well, you definitely have great self-esteem. I mean, that's for sure.
Well, I've migrated from no self-esteem.
And again, you'll see these are a little bit tight, but he is using his hands to speak and gesticulate. Ideal would be to do a little bit more and express more of the range like you saw in that first video.
Esteem to low self-esteem.
Do you feel like it? Because it seems like you migrated from no self-esteem to a tremendous amount of self-esteem. And maybe
It's one of those two. I'm not sure.
Right in the middle there with the thing.
I just think it's good to be confident. If I'm not on my team, why should anybody else be?
Do you feel?
And sort of inadvertently or potentially on purpose right there, he says one of the most important charismatic convictions. If I'm not on my team, why should anybody else be? The truth is, people are going to respond to you, not based on the merit of your arguments, and often not even based on who you know, but on what the respect and the attention that you believe you deserve, you will communicate to everyone else, and you'll get that back. And so this is his experience, right? He needs to believe he's on his own team, and that gets other people on his team. So many people believe that they don't belong in the spotlight, or that they don't deserve to receive some award, or honestly just the attention of the people that they're out with. And they communicate that in every single gesticulation, eye contact, tonality. They end their sentences on an uptone like this, which basically communicates to the people that they're speaking to that they don't find themselves worthy of the situation that they're in. Very, very quickly, in this one little philosophical nugget that he gives you, it's true. Be on your own team, because no one else is going to be there first.
Feel like you yeah, that makes sense, but not many people think like that. I think. Do you feel like when you sit down to play a game, do you feel like you're gonna win?
No.
So I'm going to come back. I just want you to watch how Robert sort of controls the silence after this. He tells a semi-joke, doesn't get much laughter, but then waits a few seconds.
Down to play a game, do you feel like you're gonna win?
No.
You don't?
No, that's a game.
You'll notice there. So that was so subtle, but most people say something that is intended to be a slight joke and don't hear immediate laughter. I'll play it again.
No. You don't?
No, that's a game.
It takes a second for people to get onto it, but controlling that silence, sitting expectantly with those sort of like playful smirk in the eyes that he's making at Jimmy right now, that is what completes the joke. It's not that what he said is necessarily funny, and this is true of the most charismatic people. They are not, on paper, any more funny than anybody else. And the people that, sit at home writing jokes for these daytime hosts or nighttime hosts, they're not very charismatic. It doesn't translate to writing. It is completely in the subtext of the situation, in how he controls the silence and what he's doing with his body. And that, I'll play it one more time, not to be obnoxious, but I think it's a really good example of turning something that's not funny into a laugh.
That's a game.
But it's a competition between another person.
Right, that's a competition.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when you're slowing things down and you have a camera and you have an afternoon to get one or two things right, you can really control it.
I got you.
Kind of like you and your show. Not really. It's not dissimilar.
Yeah, well, there is a similarity in that when I do the show, I come out and I know what I have in advance and I know who the guests are, and I think, well, this could be a really good show. And then you're at the mercy of the audience because they might not care for it. This happens to be a very good audience.
You see, he starts to open up with a little bit of his gesticulations here. He points a couple times. He indicates that he is ready to talk.
Audience here tonight.
It helps to do that.
Expressiveness with the eyes. This is something that I mentioned earlier. Range is huge in all things, in tonality, in facial expressions, in body language. He is able to communicate a lot with his eyebrows, what he's doing with his face, his smile, because he has that range. He can play the serious part or he can be goofy. And that's what he's doing right here.
They're proud of themselves.
Well, that's the key, and particularly with these superhero movies, I realized pretty early on that the audience really drives the success of the movies, and so that's just what we've been kind of chasing. And I think Marvel's been really smart. They really include what the folks at Comic-Con think and who's really excited about this casting announcement. I think it's also really the birth of kind of interactive entertainment in big-scale movies.
I think you're right. I think they do pay close attention to what the hardcore fans, they don't just go, you know what, we're going to make a movie for a lot of people to see. They first look at the hardcore fans, and then everyone else seems to follow.
And it is worth calling out, this is about Robert Downey Jr., but Jimmy Kimmel, again, is opening up his gesticulations, his body language. He's got his palms exposed most of the time. That's very, very, very solid gesticulations and body language on his part. And he is, in his own right, a very charismatic guy.
And you got a free T-shirt out of it, even, it seems like.
You spent... Right there, last thing to call out is an ability to make a joke with silence based on facial expressions. And I've mentioned this now twice. Range is huge. Being able to do that sort of stuff with just your face, smile, eyes, incredibly powerful. And I'll talk later about how to do that by practicing these sorts of things on video in the mirror. But just something to think about for now is, what is your range like? Are you able to modulate? You know, do people often say that you have a monotone voice? Or can you make people laugh just based on your expression? Right? Do you have the same sort of range in your gesticulations? Can you affect people by the way that you move? And the same thing with your facial expressions. Are you able to communicate subtleties, jokes, secrets, innuendo with just your eyes and eyebrows? We're going to go through how to identify which of these areas you can work on, but just something to think about for now. So that's it for Robert Downey Jr. I have another one of these videos coming soon on another celebrity that is very well known for their charisma. For now, thank you for attending. And if you have any questions, we'll have a forum area where you can sort of discuss this video. So I'll have a link. Hope to see you there. What's up, guys? This is Charlie again from Charisma on Command, and we've got two more videos for you here that I'm going to break down. These two, I've got one primary focus, which I really want to call your attention to. A couple other things will come up, but the biggest one by far is going to be range. And range is just what I call the different expressions you have for any given modality. And what a modality is, I know there's a lot of definitions I'm throwing at you here. A modality is just one mode of communication. So, for instance, your voice and the words you choose are one modality. Your body language is another modality. Your eye contact is another modality. How close you stand to someone is another modality. Someone who has a lot of range of expression, for instance, with their voice, is going to be able, they're going to use a lot of different inflections. They're going to put on different voices. Think of someone like Jim Carrey, has a lot of range with his voice. And I've got two masters here of range. The first one you'll see is Tony Robbins. He is so incredible at using his body. He's really good with his voice too. But what is most amazing about him is all the different ways that he has to express himself using his body language. So that's the number one thing to pay attention as you watch this video.
Must for you. It doesn't have to be you're against the wall, but it has to be something you're hungry for, because the only difference in people is hunger. And if you're not hungry, get around people that are hungry and something will hit you. You watch a conversation, you get around people that are doing better, and all of a sudden you start going, my life sucks. I remember I went to a guy in L.A.
So a couple of things right there. One, Tony is not locked. A lot of people have this thing going where they stay in a box from their shoulder down to their elbow. This is particularly true when people are seated. They move their upper arm. Tony is not at all locked. He's got his entire range of motion in his arms, which allows him to be much more expressive. Two, open palms. The guy's like 6'7". He's a huge dude. So one of the big things that is going to put people at ease is when you show your palms. This is an old evolutionary biology thing. It reveals that you've got nothing to hide. You know, you've got no hidden weapons. You're not making a fist to fight. Open palms immediately puts people at ease. They've done studies. It will actually lower the testosterone of the men in the room that you're interacting with. So open palms is a great one, and just this range that he's got. He's incredibly expansive with the gestures that he makes. Right now, you'll see he's going to do something else that is really good, which he's about to go into a story. The most powerful way to convince people is via stories. Anecdotes like these are incredible. Stats don't always do it for people. So just pay attention to this.
It's one of the most multi-billionaire guy I'll never forget. And I lived in the Del Mar Castle, and I was really proud. That was like the symbol of me having taken myself from being poor to providing for my family this great place. It's built from castles in Europe overlooking the ocean, not far from you. And I went to this guy's house. He's a billionaire. He took me down to his wine cellar. I don't even drink wine. Went through this whole thing. At the end of the night, I was depressed. I lived in the Del Mar tenement, as far as I was concerned. I really was. I was like, I live in a crappy place, and all my standards changed. All of a sudden.
Also notice what he does. He's got expressiveness. He's got range with his face and his eyebrows. When he's talking about how he's depressed, he puts on that face just for a split second. When he gets excited and he remembers a thought, his eyebrows hop up. This keeps the people that he's talking to engaged because it keeps them on their toes because he's got such range of ways to communicate.
I wasn't willing to settle for living that. All of a sudden, my back was to the wall in a different way because as a man, I knew I was capable of more. So people can change their standard by getting around where it's better. People can change their standard by getting associated what's true. Like
one other thing to call out, how close you are to someone. This is another modality that Tony uses really, really well. If you're like most people, you tend to lean back in your chair, you tend to lean forward. And you might have heard that leaning back is a sign of confidence and leaning forward means you're overeager. Those are both true, but in an interaction with someone where you are speaking, dynamism is actually what's going to hold their attention. So you'll see Tony is forward and back in his chair. He's not jittery necessarily, but he's got time forward where he's really, really close, and you notice people perk up, and then he leans back, which has another feel to the room and enables him to again lean forward and engage their attention again.
The bills they got to solve, the problems they got to do it, or they can do it because they're excited because it's something new they want to take on. Everyone's different, but they got to find the why, and they got to come up with some daily rituals to get them going and just do a step at a time. That's where you get momentum.
Awesome. That is awesome.
So, think about what's the holy grail between somebody taking action or not. It's one word: certainty.
One other thing here, you'll notice when Tony talks, he allows his voice to characterize the words that he says. So when he talks about being nervous, he puts that on with his face and his eyebrows, and you hear it in his voice, even if it's just for the length of the word. When he says certainty, he does it in a very confident way. Certainty. Listen to him talk about the opposite of certainty. He does that in a much, much, much fluffier way. This, again, is incredibly engaging, makes people want to pay attention to what you have to say.
When somebody is absolutely certain, the common word is believe, right? But, you can believe at a general level or you can believe with certain. When you're absolutely certain that if I do this, it's going to get that result and that result's going to change my life, you'll do it. When you think it absolutely is not going to work, you're never going to do it. The middle no man's land of maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, that's the piece that kills people, right? So if it's a must for you, you got to make it work, right? In our case, right? That's an example. If it's not a must for you and you're not sure, you don't know what to do. So years ago, I'd look around and say, okay, how do people get themselves to follow through that haven't been following through? What's the difference? And I started interviewing hundreds of people, literally, and eventually thousands, because I had thousands in my event.
So here Tony goes again, talking about another story. So you'll notice everything he's saying may or may not be scientifically backed. I happen to think he's an incredible teacher. He's got great, great stuff. Highly recommend it. But what is most persuasive about him is not the logical A to B to C of his arguments. It's that he embodies what he's saying physically and with his voice, and that he tells stories that seem to confirm the things that he's saying, right? So he starts this story, you don't exactly know where he's going, but since you're along for the ride, you automatically are going to be primed to agree with the conclusion of the story. So just see where this one goes.
So I'd ask the group to give me their feedback. They came up with this model. It's like the holy grail of belief or the holy grail of momentum. It's like the difference between what makes the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? And the difference we all know is mindset, but like how's that built? So this is what I did. I created stupid little 4 little boxes, and I'll scribble it here for you. You think about the first thing that determines whether you can do something or not, and I put that in this first box at the top here on the left side, and it's potential. Like, what's the potential of a human being? Like, when you guys started,
so an option for Tony would have been to say, I've got the whole, here it is. It's a box, and in the top corner is potential. By adding that little anecdote, talking about how it came to be, right? Talking about how he had all these people in the room and that made it together. Does that make it more credible? Maybe, maybe not. But just the fact that he couched that in a story makes the people that that are listening to this just sort of zone out and go, yep, totally, right there with you. So you see these guys are completely bought in, and I think he's got one more story that he mentioned.
You proved something no one had done in history. You ran the 4-minute mile, right? For golly knows how many centuries, they're trying to run a 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister does it. How did he do it? Do you remember? You did it in this industry, right? You made $1 million in a day. No one had ever done that in history, right? After you did it, a bunch of other guys are doing it because it became possible. Roger Bannister didn't just go physically practice. He made a shift in his head. He practiced in his head because he could never achieve it physically, so he had to change in his head first so that the result became certain enough, he believed it, and then his body got him through. After Roger Bannister won that 4-minute mile, within 2 years, 37 people ran a 4-minute mile.
That's amazing.
And no one in history had ever done it. Now, here's how it works.
So again, this is a stock story. I've listened to a lot of Tony stuff. Whenever he wants to convince anybody of this point, this is the story he goes to. So a couple things to take from this video specifically. There's a lot you can do by watching this guy, but the biggest ones: develop a range in your motions, particularly in the distance that you're going to stay away from someone or get close to, and also with your arms and your body language, right? Things to keep in mind: open palms are generally good. Be expansive across your chest, from your shoulder, particularly down to your elbow. That's where a lot of people get caught. And you've got these punchy things. You've got snaps. You've got fist pounds, which I don't think we saw. He'll slam his chest with his palm when he's talking about himself. That noise that makes actually makes people pay more attention, right? So use stories and increase the expansiveness of your body language. This is something you can do in any conversation you're in. Just be like, you know what? I'm going to snap my fingers the next time I want to make a point. And just working those in will make you more expressive and more charismatic. So those are that's the big body language range. Now I want to go to a guy who is so incredible with his voice. And this is a great example. This is a track. It's from a Time magazine interview, and this track was taken and it was remixed to some music and some pictures of some starry clouds and nights, and it's got I don't know how many millions of views, but it went nuts. And it's from this relatively obscure interview. But you'll hear how Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's the guy here, uses his voice to really, really, really hook people. He's completely incredible.
What is the most astounding fact you can share with us about the universe?
The most astounding fact.
So again, I'm sort of going to halt the effect by pausing this. You can absolutely go back and watch this. I want to call out in advance some of the things to pay attention to. 1, guy's got a deep voice. That is certainly biological, but you can actually develop that, and I'll have in a different video some exercises you can do to breathe from your diaphragm. I have a naturally high voice, but believe it or not, this is actually deeper than I normally speak because I've been doing these exercises. He's got this Barry White, silky smooth, commanding voice that is fantastic. Notice range in his voice. He's going to have a range in cadence, right? All of his sentences might have this huge pause, and then he'll have a run-on sentence at the end, go forever and ever and ever. He's going to have a range in volume. He's going to have a range in the timbre of his voice. Some of it will come out gravelly. Some of it will come out silky smooth. Just listen for all the different ways that he hooks your attention just by changing his voice. And you'll see he's not particularly expressive. His face isn't even particularly expressive throughout this. He's got a handful of differences, but it's his voice that is doing the lion's share of the work to make this such an engaging answer.
The most astounding fact
is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones.
So that's an example really quick of a switch in cadence. He's got that slow thing, and then he goes, these stars, jolts you right back into it.
Among them, when unstable in their later years, they collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So that when I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When
when I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars.
So really, really interesting speech. I want to call out why that is so engaging. One, he starts off, the guy asks him what the most interesting fact, and in a very, very deep voice, he goes, "The most interesting fact." Immediately captures the guy's attention. What's interesting from there, once he has the guy's attention, he is very, very, very playful with silence. He allows that to sit, right? And he actually goes quieter and speaks like this. And by controlling that silence and actually lowering his voice, once he has the attention of the interviewer, which he captures by being big and bombastic and jumping on the end of his question, he can really take him on sort of an emotional ride by lowering the volume, by allowing those pauses. And then he's got that little gravelly voice at the end when he talks about oxygen. So, again, these are things that you'll notice I have not come close to mastering. Really, really, really fantastic way to tell an engaging story. This is the kind of person that can make 8.5 million people tune in to a science show on primetime TV. And it's because he is so engaging to listen to, not because science is so damn fun. So, what's to take from him? Range in vocal tonality. I don't necessarily recommend working on these together in tandem with the range in body, because it sometimes can be difficult to work both of them in and think about what you're going to say. But one at a time for a week period, and I'll have more of this specific exercises in the action guide. But work on your vocal tonality. How are you with pauses? Do people know to wait for you to jump back in? And if they're not, one of the things you can consider is where you stop. And if you notice in that last sentence, I stopped at a part of the sentence. What you can consider is that part of the sentence you expect to go on, right? So if you're just allowing silence on periods, people might jump in. But if you allow for silence in the middle of clauses like that, you'll find that people tend to get hooked, lean in, want to hear more. So I've already gone on for a long time. I think these are two fantastic videos when you're concerned with energy and when you're concerned with like range in your vocal tonality, as well as your body and how close you are to someone. What's up, everybody? Charlie from Charisma on Command here, and I've got another video breakdown for you today. This time with someone that I'm really, really excited to talk about and I've been waiting for. But the reason that I chose today is because I recently got off of an interview with a guy named James Swanwick. And he's interviewed a ton of people that are known for their charisma. One of them, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a bunch of celebrities, a bunch of rock stars. And I asked him, I said, who is the most charismatic person that you've ever met? And without missing a beat, he said, no doubt, Will Smith. So that's who I'm going into today. This is like a 3-minute and 30-second clip, and it's got so much charismatic stuff. So in order to not stop it all the time, I just want to call out some things beforehand. One of the things I will point to, and the biggest thing to take from this, is Will Smith's infectious positivity and infectious smile. You'll notice that he does something that I call speaking through a smile, which is when he has something to say, he's not outright cheesing, but the corners of his mouth are upturned. And those muscles around the eye, those genuine smile muscles, the ones that make your cheeks sort of go up, that makes those crow's feet occur in the side of your eyes, those are just working overtime for him while this almost entire interview goes. So pay attention to that. I'll call it out a couple times, but notice it throughout the course of the interview. So first thing, huge energy. This is not only for him, but for everyone there, right? He feels good while he claps and he shouts. Everybody else is just completely focused on him. He's called all the attention in the room to him.
Right there, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to our very first show.
Man.
And it's so exciting.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks so much.
This is really huge. This is really, yeah, you know, I mean.
So one of the things that you're going to see throughout this interview is that while Will Smith calls attention to himself with the loudness of his voice, with his gestures, with his just infectious positivity, he's constantly verbally talking other people up. So he's about to do that right now.
Pressure, yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I was like, yeah, man, I wouldn't be able to handle all this pressure you got.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I mean, everything's riding on tonight.
No. Oh my gosh.
So this is actually an example of a joke whose punchline builds someone up, right? There's ways to talk about your friends, your coworkers, or wherever, where the punchline is that they're dumb, or the punchline is that they're not good looking, or whatever. The punchline of this joke is that Jimmy Fallon just landed The Tonight Show, and he's talking about the pressure, but completely built into the structure of the joke is that he's got this incredible gig, and you'll see Will Smith just point to that the entire time and how good it makes Jimmy Fallon feel. Even though on the surface he's poking fun, the underlying context is, oh my God, you've got such an incredible thing going for you.
No, but this is exciting. No, this is you're the first human to sit in our chair as a guest, and what do you think of the set? You love
this is beautiful, man. I feel very honored. I feel very, very honored.
No, we are honored as well. I mean, thank you for doing it.
You got a lot of Philly. You know that. See, you made a really.
So this is a good example of what I mentioned about speaking through a smile. Will Smith is not going to outright smile, and in fact, he probably will. But even while he's talking, from his eyes and from the sides of his mouth, notice that there is a smile incredibly close to his face. And while you wouldn't point at him and say that he's cheesing for a camera, he's sort of radiating positivity, and it's because he has those genuine smile muscles flexed. They're the ones that make your smile upturn instead of sort of pull to the side, and those ones around your eyes that make it pinched. The point is not to think of these while you're interacting with people. The point is to genuinely, and I mean genuinely, smile and feel good and be positive when you're talking to people. Hold on, let me turn off Flux real quick. I'm screwing things up. So we don't get this. Beautiful. All right, so back to the clip.
A good choice. You just got a lot of Philly boys to support you.
The roots,
you know what I mean?
You know, sometimes when we say some even words that rhyme with Philly, they go crazy. Yeah. I think I said Philly. I'm like, we have Billy, and they go, yeah! Billy Bob Thornton is coming out later.
Okay.
And again, complete comfort in moving his body. He's got his hands moving. He's forward and back in the chair. He expresses physical comfort, and you'll see he's got a number of different gesticulations that he uses while he speaks. That range makes him much more engaging.
Very, very excited. But I appreciate that. And, man, we did the hip. Thank you for doing the hip-hop dance.
No, that was fantastic.
That was beautiful. We don't have... We can show you, because we did it a couple times.
A couple times didn't go as good as the time you showed. But,
well, I was breathing heavily.
Yeah, no, I was concerned.
I mean, just listen to how loud he speaks here, right? Talk about the spotlight in the book. The spotlight is basically where the attention of a room is directed. And there's a ton of ways to direct attention, right? You can talk about yourself. You can basically beg people to pay attention to you. The best way to direct the spotlight to yourself is with your energy, no doubt. So he speaks loudly. He's great. He's very wide and open in his movements. He's smiling the whole time. So all of these passive things that he's doing are calling the spotlight, the attention to him. But the content of what he says, the things that he talks about are all other people, and he's constantly building up, in this case, Jimmy Fallon, as he goes through this interview. That is the charismatic thing to do. It's not to sit and shrink and say, no, this is all about other people. I'm just going to let them have their spotlight. It's to be an incredibly attractive presence, but still, when you're discussing other people, to constantly refer back to them, to sort of be generous with the attention of the room once you've gotten it through your body language and your positivity and your energy.
I was concerned.
At one point, I go, "This is how I die. Right. That's it. Hip hop dance with Will Smith. Yeah, this is it." And just a coincidence that we wore the same outfit.
I know. We both came in with the same.
We should have went to wardrobe, but we didn't. Yeah. But this is.
laughing the entire time. He has a genuine joy throughout, just worth pointing to again. This is something that if you want to get into, the energy section of the book is the best. The way he uses his body certainly helps, and obviously his outlook on life is a huge contributor to why he is just so thrilled everywhere he goes.
It's very exciting to be here and be doing the show, because this is a big stage for me. Usually I was on it 12:49 a.m. and kind of hiding there. But now this is a big deal, and it's a lot of pressure. And I was just wondering, you've been famous since you were a teenager. Do you have any advice for me or anything how to handle the pressure?
So Jimmy Fallon right here, this is something called directing the spotlight, right? One of the ways to direct the spotlight is to ask someone a question, is to ask their opinion. Bill Clinton is very famous for, after his speeches, he'd go and mingle with people and ask, did what I say make sense? Which made them feel so incredible that the president and the leader of the free world cared about whether they understood and liked his speech. So right now, Jimmy is pointing the spotlight at Will and saying, listen, you're a famous guy. You've been famous since you were 13. Do you have any advice for me? And obviously, Will Smith could give him some sage advice here, but what he does is even more brilliant, which is he turns it back and just praises Jimmy, shines the spotlight right back on him in a genuine way. So watch.
You know, man, really, I was watching all of the people that came to support you tonight, you know, and people are coming for you. It's not, you know, the Tonight Show is big and it's historic, but people are coming because of your heart, you know, so I would just...
And you can see how affected Jimmy is right here.
That's nice.
Yeah, you know.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good, to see all those people, and it's like funny. But I mean, any of this stuff get scary for you, or not anymore?
You know,
scared?
it definitely.
So here's another example. He asked him a question, does any of this stuff get scary for you? This is a very generic question, and everyone gets asked these surface level questions all the time throughout their life. What do you do? Where are you from? Were you scared? Blah, blah, blah. Will Smith is so infectious and so charismatic because he takes these normal questions that he could answer talking about it at a very surface level, and he shares his life philosophy. He shares his values. And what's even more attractive about that is that his values are very other-oriented. So just pay attention here. He takes this normal question, was it scary, and look at how he answers it.
He can get scary. You know, in the last few years with my kids coming into the business, it starts to be scary. But, you know, I tell them all the time, you just keep loving people, right? That the thing is to make sure with your art is a gift to.
And again, body language, he's got a great range here. Forward and back in his seat, open palms, pointing at himself, gesturing to the audience.
People to help their lives be better and to be brighter. And what happens a lot of times where you see people fail in this business is they're for their ego, and they start doing it for them. And it's like, no, it's like you're trying to help people just get through a day, you know, and it's just, you know, and you do it really well. You do it really well.
And at the end, he turns it right back on Jimmy. He says, here's my life philosophy. Give back to other people. By the way, you're killing it. Jimmy Fallon must just be smitten at this point. He's actually stunned for words at that point. So, quick recap. The biggest thing to take from Will Smith is his positive energy. And he builds that up. He walks into a room. He moves big, right? He starts to build that feeling up in himself with the way he uses his body, the loudness and the tone that he speaks with his voice gets him in a positive mood. At that point, he just radiates it from his face. He smiles implicitly the whole time. He speaks through a smile. He's got those muscles of his eye and the sides of his smile going. This is not something you need to think about. Some people will have to work on this because they've been told to have a wood face. They've been told to basically speak as if they were stoned, to remain neutral because smiling is weak. If you've watched Will Smith's movies, you know he can play the dramatic actor. And when he does that, he doesn't smile. When there's something serious or where there's something heartbreaking, he's not laughing. But if there's ever a chance to be neutral or better than neutral, the guy is radiant. And that's what draws people to him. So that's a huge, huge thing to work on is what does your resting face look like? And what does your resting emotion go to? Is it towards positive or is it towards bored? That is something that Will Smith has that makes him incredibly charismatic. obviously directing the spotlight. He pulls it towards him. He gets the attention of the room on him and then just points it back at other people, right? Talks about how wonderful Jimmy is, how everyone there to support him, how great of a job he does giving back. And then again, gestures, open, expansive, forward and back, completely comfortable in the space he has. So a great, great charismatic person model. You can watch almost any Will Smith clip and you're going to get a ton. I'm sure I'll do more. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's going to be plenty of others. Until then, I will see you. Well, I guess not until then. I'll see you. Until then, enjoy the wait and peace out.